Well, if you're like me, you're always on the lookout for an ideal flashlight or work light. My eyes aren't getting any better, and along with my readers, I'm using a flashlight, work light, or a headlamp almost every single day. Well, I've been testing one out for the last few weeks that checks most, if not all, the boxes. A company called Odelfi sent me a couple of StripLamp Pro LED headlamps to review. I told them up front that, good or bad, my viewers would get an honest review, so they must have been confident because they sent them to me anyway. So first, let's take a look, get our first impressions, and take a look at the specifications. So first thing you notice is this silicone headband that they've got here is really soft, very flexible. There's no sharp edges anywhere. It's kind of a rubberized texture. Very adjustable. Gets very large if you need it to, if you got a big head, or if you want to put it over some kind of hat, which we'll look at a little bit later. Very low profile, which I like. You know, if you compare that to most headlamps that you see, you know, such as this one here, you know, that goes on your head, that thing's sticking out a long ways, you know, that's the comparison. You know, this one doesn't stick out at all. You know, this is one I've had and I've used quite a bit, but it's so huge and cumbersome, hard plastic. You know, this one's totally soft. You know, and working in tight spaces, that extra thing hanging off the front with the light definitely gets in the way sometimes. When I'm working under a hood of a car or a dash of a car, this is really nice with this low profile. Very lightweight, doesn't hardly weigh anything. You know, something compared to this, it's definitely a lot more mass to it. So if you're going to be doing anything physical, like jogging or, you know, out walking or running around, moving your head rapidly, this is definitely going to be much better than one of those bigger headlights. You know, I've worn this quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and you know, it's very comfortable. I hardly even know it's there. Another thing I really like is it's rechargeable. I hate buying new batteries for things, and this one happens to be chargeable with USB-C. I don't know if you can see that in there. USB-C rechargeable. I think it took about 2 to 3 hours to fully recharge. I don't know about you guys, but I've got USB chargers all over the house, so I can charge this almost any room in the house with my USB charger, so it's pretty much ready to go whenever I need it. So they claim that it'll run for 2.5 hours runtime on a full battery charged using the full brightness of the COB light, they call it. And COB stands for chip on board. So these are tiny little LED lights, a whole bunch of them, so it stays very flexible. I've seen some less quality LED headlamps, these big LED lights, not as many of them. This one's got so many that it's a very dispersed light. You know, there's really no focused beam when you got this one on. It's really nice. But 2.5 hours is what they claim. We're going to do some testing of that a little bit later. They claim 5 hours when it's on the low setting, which is 40% illumination. And then it does have the side light as well. That one they claim 4 hours, and then on the low beam for that one they claim 8 hours. I didn't do any battery testing on the side one. I think most people are interested in this one, and that's the one I use 99% of the time, unless I'm trying to get something far away, which it hasn't been very often so far. Maybe if you're out camping in the woods or something, you'd want to get a little further distance, but I haven't needed that because most of my use is close range stuff or working on a car. So yeah, so we're going to do some pretty extensive battery testing later in the video, actually using some of my other meters and Datalogging software with a light sensor that I've got attached to this. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what kind of results we get on that. When the headlamp gets a low battery, apparently it flashes the little red light on the side. And then it doesn't seem to get dim, it just turns off. Let's watch this for a second. So we got the rapid light. Assuming that'll show up with the screen, but yeah, it just turns off. So while I've got it plugged into the USB-C charging cable, the little red light just goes on steady. When the light's fully charged, the LED turns green. Let me show you how the controls operate real quick. You've got 2 buttons on here. The one looks like a typical power switch. You press that once and that turns the unit on. That's high beam. You push it again, then it switches to low beam. Push it again, then you get the little beam light. Push it once more, then you get low beam light, and then again it turns off. When you turn it on, if you leave it on for more than a few seconds, I think it's about, I want to say about 10 seconds, before you hit the power button again, it will just turn straight off. try this. There. So then it just turns straight off. Then the next time you turn it back on, it turns back on to the same setting. Now, if you want to use a different setting, such as the flashlight, same thing. If you leave it on for more than roughly 10 seconds, when you turn it off, it just goes off. When you turn it back on, it switches back to the same setting you left it on. So it's got a memory. One of the features that they talk about, I didn't find really useful. I've noticed other reviewers also haven't found it all that useful. Depends on the application. This other button here, if you push that other button, it looks kind of like a little Wi-Fi signal. Push that once, and it activates a motion sensor. And you just move your hand by it, and it turns it on and off. One thing I've noticed a lot of people doing on their video reviews is they swipe left and right past it. And my testing, that wasn't really reliable. Sometimes you'd get it turning on and off, and it'd flicker. What I found, if I just come in from the side, so let's say this is on your head, you just come in from the side straight towards it. I've had better luck with that. So you can see just how far away it goes. That's about the range. So, as you'll see in some of the testing, if you've got your head in a cramped space, that motion sensor is not very useful because it's constantly turning itself on and off. And it is kind of sensitive to light, but you can see if I'm just moving it around, it'll pick up that movement and turn it on and off. So if you're out jogging or something, or maybe if you're doing something where your hands got crud all over it and you don't want to touch it on the unit, that could be useful. One thing you can see is the LED light changes to a different color when you have it in that mode. It's kind of a yellow and green, or red and green light. So I deactivate that and it just changes to red. So that's motion sensor on, motion sensor off. The last mode is any mode you have it in. If you press and hold the button for about 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, starts flashing the lights. So if you're jogging or something, that could be useful. It doesn't point behind you, which would be nice if you had something that would point backwards. So while you're jogging, you got some warning lights forward, backwards. Maybe if you're using it for some kind of home defense, that would blind somebody. I don't know. Push it once and it turns it off after that. And then push it on again and it'll go back to that same mode just like before. So it's got a memory. Hold it down. That'll deactivate that light and you go back to your normal light modes. So that's how you work it. It's got two little LEDs there. They're the motion sensor. I believe one of them is the emitter and one of them is the receiver. So when you put your hand by it, one of them transmits a beam out and the other one receives that back as a reflection when you move it. So I think that's what those two lights are for. That's about it. I think I showed you the USB-C. It's got a little rubber flap over it, so it's not waterproof, but definitely water resistant. You would wear it on your head like this, so any water would just go drip off of it. It could perhaps get in where the lights are, but the biggest opening is down here, and you could probably pull that out, but I did try pulling it out, and there's some wires attached, of course, to the lights, and I didn't want to break it. So, but you can see in there's some electronics. On the back side, you can actually see the LiPo battery. Oh, sorry. You can actually see the LiPo battery in there. So, it's a battery's pretty good size. It's about that whole thing. So that's the operation of it. Very simple. And those buttons I got that same rubberized stuff over them, so you're not going to get a bunch of crud in there if you're greasy hands or whatever. It would be pretty easy to wipe that off. So now let's see how it performs in some real world tests. I'm going to show you some video clips of me using it for some various tasks and see what you think. I often work underneath the dashboard of a car, so I'm constantly trying to prop up a flashlight or get something to point the right direction to see what I'm actually want to see. Sometimes it's almost impossible. With this headlamp, particularly with the flood lamp, it lights up the whole area. It's not even a focused beam. And of course, anybody that's used a headlight knows that it's very handy because it's putting light wherever you're looking. But with this low profile beam or LED strip on the Odelfi, you're not banging it on the dash. You've got a lot of clearance in here. Whenever I was trying to use those big ones, they're constantly hitting on stuff if you're in a tight space. But with this whole underneath the dash, all of this area underneath the dash is all illuminated. There's no like very little shadows. Just everything's lit up, and you know, no matter where I look, turn my head or whatever, I've always got a good visibility. So very useful for this sort of application where I can get in here and see anything I'm looking for. One of the things I like about this light the most is the strip light being non-directional. It illuminates the entire area, and there's very few shadows that you normally get with the spotlight style headlamps, or flashlights for that matter. But I can get in here and look around from a lot of different angles and see just about everything inside of the wheel well, in this case, that I'm working on this Hyundai Sonata. But you know, if you switch on the spotlight, which it has just like other ones, if you need a little brighter light further away, it seems like you're always fighting a shadow and trying to get the right angle. You know, if you got a good straight shot, it's great, but if there's something in the way, you're always trying to look around that shadow and find what you're looking for. But if you switch on the it's not quite as intense brightness, but everything's illuminated just fine, and you eliminate so many of those shadows. I can see everything I need to see. Plus the low profileness of this. You know, if I'm working in a wheel well or under a hood or under the car, under a dash of a car, you know, you're always banging that light on something. Or if you're just using a flashlight, you know, I'm always trying to prop it up and trying to get the right angle. With this, I've got good dispersed light all over the work area. I don't have anything protruding that's bumping on stuff. Now the motion detection part of this light, if you activate this front forward button here, you push that, it activates the motion feature. That's not ideal when you're working in a confined space like this, because if you get too close to something, you'll turn off your light. See, I didn't even touch it, I just got too close to something. So that's not ideal for this application. If you're out camping or hiking or something, that's fine. But for, you know, any kind of work, close quarters work, you're going to want to turn off that feature so it doesn't keep turning on off on you. Putting the StripLamp Pro on a hard hat would be a pretty nice option if you were working some construction. I go to a lot of facilities where I got to wear a hard hat, and the strap is plenty big to go around a pretty good sized hat. Problem I have with this is it's very slippery. You can get it to go on, but unless you come up with some way to stick this on with something grippy, some kind of grip tape or something around the band, even right here where it's got this silicone rubber, you know, it's pretty slippery. Definitely the back side. So if you were working with any kind of significant movement, I'm sure this thing would be popping off your helmet quite a bit. But yeah, with some grip tape or something, that would be pretty awesome. So here's a standard size hard hat, and then also got a bump cap, a lot smaller. Same story there though. I could tighten this up, but it's very slippery, and probably even worse because the shape of it doesn't really have a flat area where it could stick to it, just slides off. Let me just take a minute for a little bit of self-promotion. If you found this video useful, please consider a like down below. If you're interested in the Odelfi StripLamp Pro, please use our affiliate link below, and you'll get a discount code or coupon code Shane's DIY, and you get a 10% discount on your purchase. That saves you about $3 per strip lamp. I've also put some affiliate links down below: Pokit Pro combination multimeter, oscilloscope, and datalogger, as well as the Klein thermal camera that we're about to use for some testing. Using these links for your purchase really helps make these videos possible. To test the battery life, I came up with a way using my Pokit Pro meter with my datalogger software on it and an LED. So I don't know if you're aware, but a standard LED, you know, of course, if you put voltage to it, it'll light up. But if you expose it to light, it'll actually read a voltage. So right now I'm in, I'll set up a screenshot when I'm actually starting to log, but I'm getting 300 millivolts out of that if I cover it up. So with no light on the LED, I get 70 millivolts. If I expose it to regular room lighting, jumps up to 300 millivolts. If I put it on the Odelfi headlamp, I'm just going to tape this onto the light, turn on the light, and you can see it jumps all the way up to almost 500 millivolts. So with this, I'll be able to data log, and I can see on my data log exactly what time it turns off, and then get an accurate time frame. I've got a fresh charge on the headlamp. I'm going to set up a data log. Switch it to logger mode, and we're measuring voltage. We'll put it at 100 millivolts per division. Let's take a sample every 30 seconds, so then we'll know within 30 seconds. So let's start the data log. I'm going to start with the flash or the headlamp off. It'll take it 30 seconds to get the first reading. I'm going to wait till I get the first reading, then I'll turn it on. And just so you know, you put your positive lead on the negative lead of the LED. Negative lead goes on the positive, so when it's producing voltage from the atmospheric light, it puts out power differently than you would energize it. All right, so now I've got my first reading on there. If I hold my finger on that, I can see I got 62.85 millivolts as my starting point. Okay, so now we'll turn on the light. Boom. Wait for it to get another, cover that up. Yeah, so it took a big jump up. We'll wait to get one more reading and then I'll measure that. I could turn on my peak to peak, 0.422 volts from the lowest to the highest. That's not telling me what my actual voltage is right now. We'll turn that off and come back in a couple hours or 3 hours or however long it lasts and analyze the data. Notice it's getting a little bit warm, so I figured I'd get my thermal camera out and measure it. So the hottest point on there is already up to looks like 140 degrees. That one hit 145, or if it was 47, we'll see. It's pretty warm. Alright, we're almost an hour in. Let's see where we're at. Let's check the temperatures. I did get that spike when I first turned it on at about 140 degrees, but it's definitely decreased. Right now I've got a peak of about 106. Do another snapshot of that. This is at just shy of an hour. Got a peak there of 110 degrees. Okay, time for another checkup. So we're actually over 2.5 hours. We got 2 hours and 38 minutes already. We've already surpassed the specification, so that's pretty awesome. We're almost 3 hours and 20 minutes into this, and the low battery light just started blinking. So we're way over the spec. Let's take a look. Pull up the Pokit Pro data. Go back into my logger. Yeah, we are 3 hours and 20 minutes into it. And it's quite cool. Yeah, way cooler. Yeah, we're only peaking at 83 degrees. 3 hours and 40 minutes in on that. We're only hitting 75 degrees. Hey, it finally turned off. How far will we get into that? Just under 4 hours. That is very impressive. So let's save that data log. Well, I don't know how anybody can complain about battery life, because that was well over their specification. So let me get it charged, we'll get set up, and I'll do another one. I'm not going to Do a lot of spot checks throughout. We'll just do a full length test for the low voltage or the low intensity test, and then we'll just put up a screenshot of the data log for that one. So I just completed the test on the low LED strip, and interestingly, I'll overlay this, but it got 4 hours and 17 minutes, and we've got 3 hours and 50 some odd minutes on the high beam test. So we got like an extra 20-25 minutes or something on low beam. That's fascinating. So this time it lasted 3 hours and 43 minutes. That's only about 9 minutes shorter than yesterday's test. So that's confirmed what I got yesterday. On high beam it'll go over 3.5 hours, almost 4 hours. Low beam it only got 4 hours and what was it, 17 minutes. Far surpassed the 2.5 hour target on 100%, and came in shy, about 45 minutes shy of the 40% specification of 5 hours. Interesting. Well, if you can't tell by now, I really like the StripLamp Pro. I was a little apprehensive, when they reached out, because a lot of companies reach out, try to get you to review their products, and hopefully they'll just, you'll give them a good review and they'll sell some products. But this one really has been very, very useful, very good quality. I really enjoy it. I use it often. The battery life, as you saw in the testing, on the high COB setting, it surpassed the specification by quite a bit. Low setting for the COB was a little bit short of spec, which is interesting, but I would probably use it on the high setting most of the time anyway, so that's kind of nice that I got some extra runtime on that with the high setting over their specification. And yeah, I've seen a few other reviews where they measured the runtime and they didn't see those kind of extra runtime. So perhaps Odelfi has upgraded the battery since those other reviews. I don't know, but I'm happy with that. It's definitely plenty of time for me, because I don't know when you would actually ever be leaving this thing running for more than 2-3 hours. Would be pretty extreme in my opinion. But since I received it, I've been using it almost every single day. Working in the garage, walking the dog early in the morning before the sun's up, taking care of our chickens. The price for this unit is $29.95. That's before your 10% discount if you use the discount code below. So you get $3 off. So if you're in the market for a great headlamp for yourself or a gift for others, I don't think you're going to go wrong with the StripLamp Pro. Any questions or comments or on anything you've seen here, leave them below in the comments section. Be sure to like and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any new reviews or DIY projects that are coming up. Thanks for watching.